Before there was email, and Twitter, and Instagram, and television, there were postcards. From train wrecks to tornadoes, almost everything could be found on a postcard because
Postcards were like the internet of today, back in the 20th century.
these people are deltiologists, passionate collectors of postcards, and clubs that sponsor shows like this can be found across America. But, here are all these private messages now on public display, and what of the addressee who probably never got this card from the Palmcrest Motel?
I mean, sometimes they feel like they need to return it. Like, sometimes they feel obligation. I actually have a collector in here yesterday that was collecting Alabama because he sends it to Alabama, to the museums. He wants to try to get every Alabama card back to Alabama.
Mary Martin is the largest dealer in the U.S.
My whole life, I've been doing postcards. My mom started the business before I was born in the 60s. So to me, this is normal. This is just like drinking milk.
So I collect only Mexico, and I'm an art historian. So for me, this is like a gigantic database of images.
The president of the Metropolitan Postcard Club of New York is Rod Kennedy.
I'm to the point now where I have more postcards in my closet than clothes. Here are my clothes, and here are my postcards. Then we go around the corner, more postcards. So there's more postcards over here.
One version of their origins is that postcards appeared in Austria during the Franco-Prussian War. They were given to soldiers to send home. But it would be a while before they became popular with the public.
One of the things that put a lot of people off was they didn't want people to read what they were writing, and particularly the servants in wealthy households. Football team, Walker Vikings, whoever they are. And then you have a fish. I have a dead fish collection.
Oh, really?
Yes. Thank you so much. Most postcards are in the $1 to $10 range.
Uh-huh. How do you know what's an expensive card?
You develop an eye.
But collecting isn't just for the amateur. The Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City houses a collection of more than 30,000 postcards. Allison Rudnick is a curator.
Some might argue that postcards are just as valuable as Greco-Roman art, for example, in the way that a Roman sculpture tells you something about that society. A postcard provides a glimpse into a historical moment in the same way that any work of art in our museum does.
I have found in general, most people really they're more accumulators than collectors. And most of it, is really not that valuable.
Probably storefronts.
This fair was in New York. This one in Paris. I went with Adam Roberts, whose only interest is postcards of Paris.
Anything that sort of stands out to me as being a bit odd, a bit strange. So just anything that might tell me a story, really.
Which is why he bought this card. It was promoting a book by an American author called A Room in Paris, and published in 1955. Then it took Adam several months to piece together the puzzle.
The major part of the story for me was who was the person who wrote this book, and then to discover the story behind the story.
The author was Peggy Mann, who'd go on to publish 30 books, and at the time was considered one of the youngest, most successful writers in America. The Room was her hotel, and her daughter, Betsy Holton, went with us to see it. A lot has changed since 1955, but
And the balcony.
just like in the postcard.
Wow. So she woke up and she looked out at the Seine every morning and the book stalls, and she lived in 1948, and it's still that same view.
Postcards offer an encounter lost on Twitter or email.
They are a treasure trove of history, visual culture, just about anything you're interested in, you can find in postcards.
I also have a death collection. Are you interested in death?